Yeah.
It was night and day. It was night and day. I'm thankful for it because Oakland's all I've ever known. I actually was a chaplain for Oakland for 2 years, in 16 and 17, and then I got a job in full-time ministry, and I felt like I needed to focus on that. And then they called me back up, baseball chapel, buddy of mine, for this year, and I'm like, yeah, let's do it. I reconciled with Kurt Young, Stephen Vogt was over there, and Drew Pomeranz, guys from Oakland were there. Got to know Buster Posey a little bit, spent some time with Buster. But immediately walking into that clubhouse, it was night and day. It was just totally different organization. But then at the end of the day too, it's baseball is baseball, and a clubhouse is a clubhouse. And I felt really, really comfortable. I think the boys felt that from me. Like you got to be confident, and it can't be fake. Like I've seen a lot of chaplains and a lot of people come in and try to speak to professional athletes. Like you can't fake it. There's a saying for a clubhouse: you can't hide. You literally can't hide. Dude, if you get a haircut, there's 15 guys on you. Hey, happy haircut. You come out of the gym and you're pumping a little bit. It's like, what are you trying to do? Be an underwear model now? I mean, they wear you out. And then the skin just gets thicker gradually as you go. But you can't hide. And it was the same way like that, being a chaplain with the Giants. And I enjoyed it. Got to know some of the guys. Tyler Beede, spent a little bit of time with Tyler. He was always really respectful when I went over. But it was good. It was good. It was different. It's a good experience. I'm thankful for it. Hoping I'm getting a chance to do it again.
Now, as the chaplain, did you just kind of see people and fill it out and go to them? Did they come to you? Was it more just like, hey, you just kind of went around, did your rounds, so to speak? Hey, how you feeling today, boss?
Man, I've been in a clubhouse long enough not to go to lockers, and so I have a saying, dude, everybody's got a guy. When Brandon Moss came in with boots, all of a sudden a week later there's a boot guy in 5 suitcases. There's suits, people that sell suits that come to the clubhouse. There's sunglass guy, a driver for a city that you're in. Everybody's got a guy. And so with players, people always ask, and take. And it's always, what can the player do for me? And I don't want to be that way. So I'm like, I'm just going to let this thing go. And I knew Vogt, and Vogt was in the chapel. And me and Vogt really spent some good time together this spring. And I was like, the first thing you got to do is identify who's your leader. And if you don't have one, forget it. You're wasting your time. Like, you've got to have a guy in the clubhouse that can sit there and say, this is what I'm about. You guys are going to drink. You're going to live your life, but this is what I'm about. And do you want to come? Like, I used to do that all the time with Oakland. I used to be the guy to invite guys to chapel. I go invite Coco. I go invite Johnny Gomes. I invited everybody. Ricky Henderson came to chapel a lot of times. And he used to tell me all the time, hey, man, that thing you got to do right there, I like that. You keep doing that.
He said He didn't say Ricky like that?
So here's the thing about Ricky. So Ricky's got great stories, dude. Like, first of all, if I ever saw Rick, I would wait for Ricky to either recognize me or acknowledge me, because I wouldn't embarrass myself out there. I know Ricky. I'm just not sure I know Ricky.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
I spent a lot of time with Ricky in Oakland the last couple of years there, because Ty Waller was my mentor, a good friend of mine, our first base coach. And him and Ty were like 2 peas in a pod. And I spent a lot of time with Ricky. And Ricky's got great stories, dude. So we're sitting there. You guys have heard the one about the check, right? You guys heard the one about the check? The you know what I'm talking about? So his first $1 million check, he literally didn't cash it. Like he framed it and put it up on his wall. True story. So we're all sitting there in the coach's room one day, and Ricky would just come in and sit down. Chili Davis is there, Kurt Young's there, Mike Gallego's there, some of Ricky's teammates, Chip Hale's there. We're all just kind of there. Ricky walks in. It's quiet. Everybody's looking at their computers, filling out their reports, and we're all just hanging. I used to try to keep everybody loose. I used to just joke around, keep them loose. And Ricky comes in, and he sits down quiet, and everybody's just kind of just doing their thing. And all of a sudden he goes, y'all remember that time when, that story about my first check? And you better believe that everybody just stopped what they were doing immediately and turned and looked at Rick. Yeah, we heard about it, Rick. You want to tell us about it? He goes, I'm at my house the other day, and I'm going through my mail. Y'all remember when I played for the Mets? We had the playoff runs. We're like, yeah, we remember 90 whatever, 98, 90 whatever. And he goes, I'm going through my mail. I find a check. New York Mets. Envelope not open. We're like, no freaking way. He opens it up. $750,000 check. Kurt Young goes, no way, Rico.
Goodness.
We go, what'd you do? He goes, he never cashed it. He goes, I call him up. I say, can I get my check? This one's expired. He said 2 weeks later, they cut him a check.
There you go. I mean, it was money served. Jeez.
Twice.
Wow.
Twice.
I mean, his services were rendered. I mean, that's what it was for, but that's unbelievable. Yeah, this is void in 190 days. Well, what about 11 years? Think we're good on that? Yeah.
Call him up.
It's Ricky.
It's your money. So
That's awesome.
yeah, Ricky's actually, people think Ricky's arrogant. People think Ricky's not smart. Nothing could be further from the truth. People think Ricky doesn't care. Nothing could be further from the truth.
I think it's like you said, though. It's that show. It's that show mentality you put on that front so that people
A persona almost.
Well, Ricky didn't have a front. Ricky's thing was Ricky used to sit in front of the mirror and go, Ricky, you're the greatest. You're the greatest. So, like, when he finally breaks the record, that's not new to him for him to stand up and go, I'm the greatest of all time. Because he literally spent every day in the mirror telling himself, I'm the greatest. I'm the greatest.
Wild.
I'm the greatest. And I'll throw a little bit of what I do as a pastor on top of that. Faith comes by hearing. Ricky used to hear himself say it all the time. So he believed it.
Spoke it into existence.
Just believed it, man. You got to believe it. You can't fake it. You just can't fake it. I'm telling you right now, there's times I watch games on TV and I go, nope. I watched Soto last night, and it was the way he took the slider. And he almost, like, walked a little bit, and he looked at the pitcher, and he stared him down.
That's him.
And I'm like, dude.
He's 20.
I'm like, that's the nastiest left-handed pitcher I've seen in a long time. Like, he's almost scarier to me than Andrew Miller was a few years ago.
Oh, yeah.
He's
laughed
nasty.
at it.
Hater's nasty.
Laughed at it.
But he looked at him like, I got you.
Mm-hmm.
And then I went and I checked it today, and I checked his quote, because I'm a big quote guy. And he sat there and he said, I knew I was going to get him. He knew he was going to go heat her up, and he knew he was going to try to get him on the slider away. Well, he threw him the slider away. It was a ball, so guess what he did?
Heat her up.
I'm looking for something.
Yep.
And then he got it, and then he wasn't shocked.
There you go.
That's crazy.
But he was still shocked. You get what I mean? Like,
yeah.
He believed it. So you got to believe it. I don't care what it is that you do. You've got to believe in what you do. It just, you can't fake it.
That's awesome. Now, you brought up last night. What about tonight? I know it's got a little bit of it's your boys out there.
No
quote
doubt.
Unquote.
It is and it isn't. Like, I don't know the
Of
players.
course.
Like, I know Matt Olson because when Olson would come up for that, they would carry extra guys for that first preseason series against the Giants. There was so many guys that they had, like Olson and a couple of young prospects, Daniel Robertson and a couple other guys we traded away. They had to hit BP in the cage down below, so I threw them in the cage. And I didn't know Ole much. He was quiet. I just knew the stories about Ole, like the monumental home runs that he hit in the minor leagues. Max Muncy, who's now a Dodger, was one of those guys too, and he was just kind of like forgotten about. Like, Muncy wasn't thought about that much. He didn't get a shot. Isn't that crazy?
That's crazy.
You never know. And so tonight, these are two, looking at both of these teams, if I'm every other team in the league, I don't want to play these teams. I got a list right here in front of me of a couple of things that I was thinking about. I have 3 scary teams on my list. 2 of them are playing tonight. Like, Oakland and Tampa are scary. You do not want to play these teams. The other one is Minnesota. They're just that team that you're just not settled.
They have that edge.
You're not settled.
Yep.
I watched enough of the Twins this season to make me sick. They're so good. I mean,
So is that what the Cleveland?
Yeah, I'm a diehard. I'm a diehard. But I enjoy baseball, and that's what I was going to get at too. You know, you were with the A's for so long, and then now with the Giants, like, you have to push fandom aside and be able to, because it's about the people, you know, within the building.
I mean, yeah, absolutely, dude. Like, hype, like, you know, hype, no hype, right? Like,
yeah, sure.
I followed this up a little bit. Hype, I'm dying inside. I'm like a fan. I'm pulling. I got guys in the clubhouse that I know, Boos, Brian Davis. I got people up that work in the stadium that I know. Bob is my guy. Bob's my manager. Until my brother becomes a manager, Bob's my manager.
There you go.
When I text him still, I call him Skip, because that was the first time I'd in my life seen leadership.
Wow.
Love
And
it.
so I respect Bob that much. Like Billy. I respect Billy.
Sure.
Billy made me a big leaguer. Billy's made a lot of people a big leaguer just by giving him an opportunity. He gave me one, enough that I was able to walk away from this game with over 1,500 games under my belt of experience.
That's unbelievable.
So tonight I have a 12U baseball team that I'm coaching in Chandler. but I scheduled it at the house, at a guy's house with the batting cage because I'm going to put the game on.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I'm going to watch, and I'm going to cheer for Oakland.
That's fantastic.
But I'm glad. Let me just say, I'm glad they're giving a starter a shot. It drove me crazy last year when I saw that they were starting a reliever. Like,
yeah.
We did that. We when we were in. This hurts to talk about. When we played against the Royals, you guys, I don't know if you guys remember that game. A lot of people call it the greatest game ever played.
Okay.
The wild card game where they beat us in like the 13th or the 14th. Perez hit that ground ball past Donaldson down third. Man, Soto caught Lester. Soto had never caught Lester all year. And John is not the kind of guy that you want to change something on. The reason being is because they had Dyson. They had they were running like crazy. Kansas City was running like crazy. And the talk in the clubhouse was they're going to run all over Norris. Derek wasn't throwing anybody out. They're going to run all over Norris. Well, Soto jammed his thumb in like the third inning. Lester gave up like 4 in the first couple innings. And it was like, what's going on here? We traded Cespedes for John. Like, he's supposed to win this game. Like, he can throw 160 pitches if needed to get you a win. Like, nobody else is supposed to pitch that day. But we gave up 4 right away, and it's like, why is Soto catching Lester now? Like, I know Derek's not going to throw anybody out, but there might not be anybody to throw out if it goes well.
Correct.
And so you can't switch what you're doing just because you're in the playoffs. You got to keep it the same. Now, granted, it's different because you don't have time to figure it out. But what got you there is what's going to get you to the top. And so I'm just glad that they have a starter going tonight.
And so who do you think represents the AL? Because you're 3 teams.
Yeah, I got it right here.
Yeah.
I knew it was coming up. First of all, let me just put a precursor. I hate this question. And the reason this is the biggest sucker question in the world. It's just barbershop talk, which is cool.
Yes,
I love
sir.
it. I love it. I love when people get fired up. I love listening to you guys do your thing. We talking about especially the basketball. How it cracks me up. The basketball you got to be attached to it. It's a sucker question because I wrote here because the unpredictability of it all.
Sure.
Why do you watch?
For the unpredictability.
Period. If somebody had a crystal ball, we'd use it.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know what I mean? You just don't know what's going to happen. And so that's the part about it I love. I will make predictions because I know I'm supposed to. I have here, I got L.A. in the National League.
Okay.
Just because they got the staff, they got the sticks,
Yeah.
they got the versatility, they're deep. Side note, I'll get to later if we get there. And in the AL, man, let me just say this first. If New York were ever going to go on a run, this is the team. If they ever had it all, this is the squad. They could literally maybe not even lose a game, potentially.
Wow.
Potentially, maybe. No, they probably will, but
They could be that dominant.
They
Absolutely.
could be that dominant. You just can't predict.
And like you said, with unpredictability, Minnesota could go in there and smack him in the mouth.
Minnesota could dominate, right?
And
Houston,
there's
Houston,
that,
And then
Houston's
he's
not very good.
shell-shocked and all of that. Yeah.
but I'm picking Houston.
Okay.
Now, in reality, Oakland wins tonight. Oakland's playing Houston. That's been an interesting series.
Yes,
Right.
it will.
And Oakland has Verlander's number this year, which that's hard to do. Some of these young guys have been taking him. He's been giving up the long ball, which homers are going to play. Homers just play in
Big
today's
time.
game.
Especially this season with all these teams that are breaking all the records. Minnesota, that's the team. They
Yep.
had 5 guys with over 30 home runs.
That leadoff hitter, that lefty,
It's
what's his name?
ridiculous.
What's his name? You don't even want to say his name because you're so
I
Cleveland.
won't. You know what?
I can't
Seth will
remember
look
the
him
name,
up.
but that,
Seth will look him up.
yeah, that guy's just, he can do it all. He can go deep. He can get on base. He can steal bases. And I don't even remember his name, but I enjoy watching him play. And but yeah, so L.A. for the National League, Houston I got in the American League. Hype. I'd like to see Oakland do it.
Sure.
Hell yeah.
I read today that Oakland, and I'm a part of this, and my brother's a part of this. My brother once played in a celebrity pool tournament, lost the first game, and he says, well, it just kind of runs in the DNA. One and done. Oakland has a streak going right now of consecutive losses in elimination games.
Yeah.
And 5 in a row at home.
Okay, so they're due.
That's my philosophy.
So they're due. That's the glass half full type.
Yes,
You
sir.
know, eventually statistics have to swing the other way. You know, could it be 6? It could be 6, or the buck stops now.
They do, but you got to remember now.
It's kind of like the coin flip. It's still 50-50.
I'm in real estate, right? And everybody's like waiting for the recession to hit again. When's the market going to just
Sure.
fall through
Yep.
again? And the reality is every time Trump quotes something about China, the banks begin to offer lower interest rates.
Yep.
So it's like, well, we're supposed to have a recession, but we haven't had one yet. They could keep that thing going. Ask the Cubs.
Yeah.
You see what I mean? Like, you just that's why we watch, because everything's a story. If Tampa wins, it's a great story. If Oakland wins, it's a great story. You know, I'm a big Chapman fan. I honestly think, I asked my brother, I go, who do you think's better? He goes, I think he is. I asked Billy. He goes, I think he is. I'm going to be honest with you on there. I think, and my brother was like really good.
Yeah.
I think Chapman's better.
That's a high compliment.
And he's the clubhouse guy.
And again,
so,
right, to get there, he's got to stay healthy as well.
Health.
There's so many things that have to factor into that.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Absolutely.
Right now, we love that judgment call of saying this guy's better at the moment. But like you're saying, these guys need to clutch up. It's the one game. This is what they do every night. Just you got to get locked in.
John Wooden says it like this: adversity doesn't build character; it reveals it.
There you go.
And I remember getting on. My first year ever in the big leagues winning was 2012, and Detroit just was shellacking us 3 in a row, and it was like the most murderous road trip. And we needed to win every game to catch Texas, because I was telling you guys we were chasing Texas, and we lose in Detroit, which is like a hellacious, almost hour bus ride. We stay in Birmingham outside of Detroit, and the players, I get on the elevator with Balfour, Cliff Pennington, a couple other guys, Brandon Moss, and they're looking at me, and they're kind of like, are we okay? Because we're going to New York, and then right after that, we were going to, like, Tampa. It was all just a crazy schedule, like 12 straight road trips. I think we won 3 games out of them.
Wow.
And I asked Bob, I go, Bob, are you thinking about that trip? He goes, what trip? This guy. I'm like, the one that's coming up in like 2 days that we're about to get ready for, like the one that's going to make or break us. And like, no, I'm thinking about today. So I get on the plane with I get in the elevator with the guys. We're going up, and they're having all these discussions, and I can hear them. And I'm just calm as can be. And they turn to me and they go, Chavi, what are the coaches saying? I go, what do you mean? They go, well, how are you guys feeling? I go, fellas, this is the best position I've ever been in when I've been in the big leagues, and you got us here. So when you look at us, when you look at Kurt, when you look at Chili, when you look at all of us, just see us with our pom-poms out. Like, our job is to get out of the way at this point. Like, it's on you, and you got us here, so we're good. They all looked at me in shock, like, because for me, if we win, that's like $50,000. And then if we win in the first round, it's like 80. If we win, if we go to the ALDS, it's like 170 or whatever. It's life.
Jeez.
They call it life-changing money.
Yeah.
And if you win the World Series, it's like 300 some odd grand.
Wow.
And they're looking at me going, making 50 grand a year, and they're like, for real? And I'm like, yeah, dude. Like, go out there and have fun. Like, I said, none of us are in the lineup tonight or tomorrow. None of us are throwing a ball. None of us are fielding a play. You guys got this. We feel good about it. And
That's
so
awesome.
Adversity, you again, sometimes I look up and I watch, and I was like, Soto's at least believes he's going to get him.
Have you ever thought about, and I know you coach, but you ever thought about getting into managing like that? Because it sounds like you can get the ear of any player and
You
have
get
the
that
respect.
edge, man.
Because it's genuine. Like you said, you're not faking it. Like, people would believe in, like you said, the first skipper you ever had was really Melvin, right?
Oh, yeah.
So
doubt.
was Bob. So now you could end up being that to somebody 10 years down the road.
I would rather live vicariously through my brother and watch him get a shot and do what I know he's going to do well, which is I've found books of analytics on his table, and he's a special assistant to the GM. I remember in New York he was frustrated because they had too much money locked up, like a lot of teams do. They lock up a lot of money. Why do you think Dombrowski got fired in Boston? Too much money locked up. It's old money. It's the contracts.
Yep.
By the way, they don't trade players. They trade contracts.
Yeah.
And so Dombrowski lost his job eventually because all the money was tied up. Look at Pujols with Anaheim. Like, how much money they got tied into him.
Yeah.
Lifetime.
So, but what I'm trying to say by that is essentially, like, with the whole managing thing, like, I'm good. You know what I mean? Like, I don't miss the clubhouse. I don't miss big leagues. Like, when I get with these 12-year-old kids tonight, like, I'm going to take all the knowledge that I have and share it with them.
That's awesome.
And so when I remember talking to Nomar, like, what are you going to do? And he's like, I'll figure it out. You know, and there's life beyond playing. Everybody thinks they're going to play for everybody forever. Everybody wants to play forever, and that's the right mindset.
Forever.
You have to have that mindset. You do. Otherwise, you're done. And Nomar's since become a great announcer. There's other parts to the game and aspects to the game. So for me, I love being around it. I love talking it. I can do it all day long. The 12-year-old kids tonight, they're going to get part of the reason I have the game on is not just selfish. I'm going to teach them. Because I was in Minnesota at a cabin for our first tournament. I missed it. We went 1-2. They lost 16-1. That's a story. Like, you don't just lose 16-1.
Yeah, how did that happen?
So what's my response going to be? My response is going to be, let's go hit in a cage. Let's take the fastball away, because I heard we didn't swing a lot of fastballs. We're going to pump the machine up. We're going to put a playoff game on. And I'm going to teach them through scenarios. And the first thing I do is the first 10 minutes I teach them a leadership lesson. And tonight I'm going to tell them, adversity doesn't build character. It reveals it.
There you have it.
We're okay.
Baseball
We're
is
okay.
life.
That's awesome. And you were able to cross over your two biggest passions, besides family, obviously, which was baseball and ministry.
Yeah. Everything's ministry to me. Ministry can be summed up to me in one sentence. One life impacting another.
There you go.
And so when I looked at players, like, I remember my third year. Because remember, mind you, when I came in, I was told, be seen and not heard. Basically, shut up. And I had that happen. I had a couple times where I spoke and I shouldn't have. My third year, the veterans started to come up to me. Like, I remember when Balfour got traded over, Will Lohman, a couple veteran guys, Russ Springer, Mike Wartz. They started coming up to me, like in spring training when I first met them. And one thing I would try to do right away is meet all the players in spring training right away, get to know their names. And then I'd take care of the young guys just as good as I would the veteran guys, because you never know who the next big leader is going to be.
Sure.
And so you don't get to decide that. So don't treat them any different. And a lot of guys get treated different in organizations by clubhouse people, personnel, everybody else.
That's how the pecking order goes.
That's how it goes. But you don't get to decide that. That's why they call it the show. I told Derek Norris one day, he goes, why is everybody criticizing you? I go, Dino, let them talk, dude. I go, let them talk. They'll talk before the game. They'll talk after the game. But guess what? You go out there and you get 4 knocks, you go show them. That's why they call it the show. They can't do anything about that, can they? He goes, no. He went out to hit 2 homers that day. You know, and it's like, it's just stuff that you learn and you pick up. And Eric told me one time, my brother, he said, I asked him, I go, what do you miss the most? And he goes, the conversation. And that's why podcasts are so great, because they're healthy conversations.
Yes, sir.
It's the conversation in a cage. It's the conversation in a bullpen, conversation on a plane. It's the conversations that make us better. Like, nobody knows it all. And when somebody tries to tell you to do something and it's right or wrong, but they don't tell you why, they're wrong. And you learn that. Like, I told many of players, like, it's your career. Oh, they want you to be a submariner now, Jerry Blevins? Like, I'm like, what changed your mind? He goes, I figured out it's my career. And if my career's over, I'm gonna do it on my terms.
Sure.
Stuff like that. You just
That's
pick up.
awesome.
You just share it. You just have the conversation. You enjoy the game. It's a great game. It's an amazing game.
Oh, that's so awesome. Pat, you got anything else you'd like to add here?
Man, that's awesome. Coach Chavez lighting us up with a little bit of knowledge. He brings it from both aspects. You can kind of hear how he's talking about it, and he didn't like the limelight. He didn't like the show of what was going on. But he's bringing it back to the community of how he treats people the same regardless of their money, ethnicity, everything else that's going on. The way we get people together is baseball. You can be any size, any shape, any athleticism. Some guys can walk on the field and perform. Some guys need to work out every day. That's the mental side of it. And I think that's where, as a community, we can help people out mentally get better instead of beating people down. No matter what, you're going to have the criticism. That's what comes from the show. You get rid of the criticism, you start hanging around with people that are that positive influence, that teach you the right way to learn something. Whereas when I was 12, I remember my coach. I remember him just grilling us. Hey, you guys have voluntary practice. Anytime you guys want to practice, all 6 days a week if you want it, everybody raise their hand. We won the championship that year. It wasn't telling us we had to practice 3 hours a day to be the greatest ever. It was, hey, what do you guys want to do today? How do you want to create this atmosphere? And I think a lot of that comes from a leader, coming from a positive person, being genuine, not just telling you real information. Facts are there all the time, but being genuine. Hey, you're not doing well. The difference is you can do this better. I've seen you do better. I've seen you do better. Tell yourself, Ricky, tell yourself you're the greatest. You don't have to be arrogant about it and tell everybody else. That's what we like to see. That's what we like to see on the media. But if you're talking to yourself walking to school and you got a game later in the day, you got to be the best that day when you're on the field. Nobody can beat you. Whether you're going to school, whether you're going to home life, practice, softball, baseball, even football, maybe basketball, Lance. But it's just one of those things where you have to have that mindset of being tougher than what's going to be thrown at you. So when life hits you, realize, hey, Bob Melvin, there's another day tomorrow, man. Yesterday doesn't matter. Get over it. I remember being that. I wanted to be that closer. I wanted to be that guy in that just goes and shrugs off a bad loss the night before, because you don't get a save or usually a no decision. It's usually a save or a loss. So as a closer, you either have a lot of saves or a lot of losses. It's really good or it's really bad. And I didn't like that aspect of it. All of a sudden, baseball became work, and I wasn't getting paid. So mentally, we got to teach these kids. We got to teach the people around us, hey, I got you. Let me pick you up today. Hey, you need lunch? I got you. What do you need? Hey, what's going on? Whether it's just chatting, like he's saying, whether it's being open enough to let them come to you. Because a lot of times we shut people away because we don't want to deal with that pressure. So I love the philosophy. I like where you're coming from. Thanks for coming out to the show, man.
Yeah, thanks
Dropped
for
a
having me.
lot of information. Oh, I'm absorbed. I'm into it, man. I love it.
Baseball is a vehicle. Like, for me, it's taking me to Japan. It's taking me to the playoffs. It's taking me all over. It's still taking me places. It's brought me here to this podcast. So that's the amazing thing about it. I will say one thing about what he said real quick, because I know we got to go. There is an X factor to this, which is this game is always about the players. And I will say this. Managers don't win games. They only lose them. That's why it's a tough job. So their job is to put them in the right positions to have success, and hopefully they go out there and get it done.
There you go.
And so this game's about the players. So we'll see them perform.
And on that note, folks, this episode is in the books. We've got, well, right before we do that, let's plug a few things.
Yeah, sure.
You're doing some real estate. You got some stuff going on. What's happening?
Yeah, life's been all about transitions, but lately me and my wife are on an amazing team, eXp Realty, where I got an online platform, online MLS, so on and so forth, and we're on the KP Elite team over in Chandler. We do it together.
Fantastic.
Yeah, we have a lot of fun with it, and we treat people the right way. So doing that, and then in the community out where I'm at, Santan Valley, working with an organization called Paladin Sports. And we're trying to put together like a $25 million facility because the kids got nowhere to go.
Yeah.
They're getting in trouble. It's an unincorporated area. You know, everybody's got to travel outside of the area. And there's over 3,000 young people in the area that are impacted by Paladin Sports.
Oh, wow.
So we're trying to look for people that want to get behind this vision. And literally, sports can build up a community. I've seen it do it. I've seen it do it in Oakland. I've seen what it does to a city. And in this case, it might be able to create a city or a town. So
That's fantastic.
That's awesome.
We're trying to make a difference.
That is amazing. I love it. People, check out, if you're looking for a home, go hit up Casey and his wife. I'll put the links below in the YouTube. Like, subscribe, do the thing. And on that note, I think we're good. Everybody, enjoy the rest of your day. James out west, the No Hype Zone. Baseball is life. We